Hi everyone, this is the sentence diagramming explanation for week 12. And we're working with some confusing verbs. The actual diagrams are not terribly complicated once you get those verbs figured out. Again, I've kind of given you tips on subject and verb just to simplify things. So we don't have a direct object in this first one, so it's going to be the intransitive verb lay. So once we've got that, we have our subject and verb he lay, and then everything else is functioning as an adverb that goes below the verb. So yesterday is the when question, and very still is telling us how he was laying. Still is the adverb, and very is the adverb on the hook that's giving us more information about the still there. And with a subject and an intransitive verb, we have a pattern 6. The next sentence, we do have a direct object. So it's going to be laid the baby. We have a couple of prepositional phrases that I've kind of visually eliminated for you. So I laid, subject verb, laid what is baby. Earlier is an adverb answering the question when. On the table, adverb phrase answering where, and for her nap is a why. So all of those three are functioning as adverbs, so they go underneath the verb laid. And with the subject, transitive verb, direct object, we have a pattern 7 sentence. Excuse me. No direct object on this one, so the verb is going to be lay. And then we have a couple of prepositional phrases. On the beach is telling us where. For 2 hours is a time question. And yesterday is telling us when. So all of those go under the verb that they are modifying. With a subject and an intransitive verb, we have a pattern 6 sentence. So in this sentence, we have a compound subject, Yolanda and Chris. So that goes on the little parallel structure to start with. They're laying carpet. We do have a direct object. So there's the form of the verb we're going to be using. And we have been laying. All those three are verbs conveying the tense we're using. So all three of those go in the verb slot. They're laying what? Carpet is our direct object. Sent 7 a.m. is the prepositional phrase conveying time. So it's an adverb phrase that goes below the verbs. And that makes a pattern 7. Subjects, transitive verb, and direct object. Okay, now we're moving on to sits versus sets. We have several prepositional phrases. If we eliminate those, it makes it a lot simpler. Earn is our subject. Sits is our verb, because once you eliminate those prepositional phrases, you see that there's no direct object. So we're using the intransitive verb sits. So that's our main diagram, and then we just put our prepositional phrases in. With Grandpa's ashes is modifying earn, so it goes beneath that. On the mantle in the living room is telling us where, so that goes below the verb sits. So we have a pattern 6 with a subject and an intransitive verb. The next one we have rose versus raised, and we do have a direct object, questions. So we know we're going to use the transitive verb raised here. So he is our subject, raised is our verb, he raised what? He raised questions as a direct object, and we have 3 modifiers, an article, and 2 adjectives modifying questions. So subject, transitive verb, direct object is a pattern 7. In this case, once we eliminate our prepositional phrase, we see that we don't have a direct object, so we're going to use the intransitive verb rose. Fair is our subject, rose is our verb, and then we just need to put in our modifiers. Bus is modifying fair, and by 30% is our prepositional phrase that goes below that verb. So subject, intransitive verb makes a pattern 6 sentence. Sitting versus setting again. In this case, we have a direct object. She's setting what? She's setting the table. So we have Mary as our subject. Is setting is our verb. Setting what? The table is our direct object. And that is a pattern 7 with subject, transitive verb, direct object. Now, same scenario, same verbs. We eliminate the prepositional phrase and it makes it more clear that we have no direct object. So we're going to use the intransitive verb sitting. So John is sitting is the main part of our diagram. Subject, intransitive verb. At the table is our prepositional phrase that's diagrammed below. So it's a pattern 6 sentence. Samoan Islands lie because there's no direct object. So we're going to use the intransitive verb. Where do they lie in the South Pacific is our prepositional phrase that goes underneath that verb, and it makes it a pattern 6 sentence. We do have, we're going to eliminate that last prepositional phrase, but we do have a noun that's following our verb. We have laid up what? We have laid up a supply. So subject is we, have laid up is our verb. We have a phrasal verb. The up is preposition is part of the verb. So that goes on that main line with the verb. Supply is our direct object, and the rest of it is modifiers, a possessive, and then the prepositional phrase that goes below the direct object. Subject, transitive verb, direct object is a pattern 7. Eliminate your prepositional phrases, and we can see immediately that there's no direct object. So we're going to use the intransitive lain. Michael's our subject, has lain verbs. Where on the couch is our first prepositional phrase, and why because of his illness is the second prepositional phrase. Subject, intransitive verb, pattern 6. Same thing, eliminate the prepositional phrases. In this case, we see that we have a noun following the verb, so we know that it's the transitive form of the verb we're going to use. I is the subject, should, have, laid are the verbs. Papers is the direct object. And then our two prepositional phrases, even though they're following the direct object, they're modifying the verb. In neat piles is telling us how, that's an adverb question, and on the table is telling us where. So subject, transitive verb, direct object, we have a pattern 7 sentence. Tiles were laid neatly in a row. This one, I actually changed this to an active sentence just to make it more clear what was going on here. So I left the sentence below in its regular form, but if you change it to an active sentence, it makes it more clear what's going on. So laid is the verb, but you're laying what? You're laying tiles is the direct object. I stuck a he in there because there's no clear indication of who the actor is, so I just chose a pronoun. So he laid tiles is subject, transitive verb, direct object. Neatly is telling us how, so that's obviously an adverb. In a row is another thing that's telling us how or maybe where. And then we have our definite article with tiles. So subject, transitive verb, direct object makes that a pattern 7 sentence. And that's it. Hopefully this was relatively easy for you. Just a question of being able to identify direct objects. And once you do that, it becomes pretty clear. And then obviously if there's a direct object, it's pattern 7. If not, it's an intransitive verb and it's pattern 6.